Imagine a weapon so powerful that it can vaporize an entire city in an instant, leaving nothing but a smoldering wasteland in its wake. This is the terrifying reality of nuclear weapons, a force of destruction that reshapes the very fabric of our world. The initial detonation of a nuclear bomb unleashes an unimaginable amount of energy, creating a blinding flash of light and a searing wave of heat that incinerates everything in its path. Temperatures at the epicenter can reach millions of degrees Celsius, hotter than the surface of the sun, turning the ground into molten glass. The heat from a nuclear explosion is only the beginning of the devastation, as it ignites fires that spread uncontrollably. A massive shockwave follows close behind, traveling outward at supersonic speeds, flattening everything in its path. This wall of pressure can level buildings, uproot trees, and toss vehicles like toys, leaving a trail of utter destruction. The blast radius of a single nuclear weapon can span miles, leaving behind a wasteland of rubble and ash, a haunting reminder of its power. These immediate effects of nuclear explosions are horrific enough, but the true horror lies in the long-term consequences that follow. The fires ignited by the blast can rage for days, releasing massive amounts of smoke and soot into the atmosphere, darkening the skies. These fires, combined with the dust and debris lofted into the air by the explosion, create a phenomenon known as a nuclear firestorm, an inferno of unimaginable scale. Nuclear firestorms are unlike any other fire on Earth, consuming everything in their path with relentless fury. They generate powerful updrafts that pull in air from the surrounding areas, creating hurricane-force winds that feed the flames. These winds further fuel the flames, causing the firestorm to grow larger and more intense, spreading destruction over a vast area. The heat and smoke from these infernos can rise miles into the atmosphere, carrying with them a deadly cargo of soot and ash, which can have devastating environmental impacts. As the smoke and soot from nuclear firestorms rise into the atmosphere, they create a dramatic and ominous sight, darkening the skies with their thick black plumes. They encounter cooler air in the upper atmosphere, which causes the hot, rising smoke to begin condensing into water droplets. This condensation process forms a special type of cloud known as a pyrocumulonimbus cloud, or fire cloud. These clouds are born from the intense heat and energy of the firestorms below. Pyrocumulonimbus clouds are similar to the thunderclouds that produce severe storms, but they are far more massive and powerful. Their size and intensity dwarf those of regular storm clouds. What sets pyrocumulonimbus clouds apart from their ordinary counterparts is their ability to inject massive amounts of smoke and soot high into the stratosphere, far above where typical weather phenomena occur. The stratosphere is the second layer of Earth's atmosphere, located above the troposphere where most weather occurs. It is a region characterized by its relative calm and stability. Unlike the troposphere, where rain and winds can quickly disperse pollutants, the stratosphere is extremely stable. This stability means that once particles enter the stratosphere, they can remain there for extended periods. The soot and smoke injected into the stratosphere by nuclear firestorms can linger for months or even years, creating a persistent haze that can have long-lasting effects on the environment. This persistent layer of particulate matter acts like a giant sunshade, blocking a significant portion of incoming solar radiation from reaching the Earth's surface. This reduction in sunlight can lead to cooler temperatures and disrupt weather patterns globally. The injection of soot and smoke into the stratosphere following a nuclear war would have a profound impact on Earth's climate. As the sun's energy is blocked by the layer of particulate matter, global temperatures would plummet, leading to a phenomenon known as nuclear winter. While the term winter might evoke images of snow and ice, nuclear winter would be a far more insidious and long-lasting event. The cooling effect would be felt worldwide, disrupting weather patterns and plunging the planet into a state of perpetual twilight. The severity of nuclear winter would depend on the number and size of nuclear detonations, as well as factors such as the time of year and the geographical location of the explosions. However, even a limited nuclear war could have devastating consequences for the global climate. The most immediate and devastating consequence of nuclear winter would be its impact on global agriculture. The drop in temperatures, combined with reduced sunlight and disrupted rainfall patterns, would devastate crops and livestock around the world. Key agricultural regions such as the American Midwest, the breadbasket of the United States, and the fertile plains of Ukraine would be particularly hard hit. These regions, which are responsible for producing a significant portion of the world's food supply, would experience drastically shorter growing seasons and significantly reduced yields. The collapse of global agriculture would lead to a catastrophic food shortage, plunging billions of people into famine. Modern society is highly dependent on a complex and interconnected food system, and even a relatively short-term disruption could have cascading effects. Section 5. Nuclear war, a spectrum of destruction. The severity of nuclear winter and its impact on humanity would depend on the scale and nature of the nuclear exchange. The more extensive the conflict, the more severe the consequences would be for the planet and its inhabitants. A limited regional nuclear war, such as a conflict between India and Pakistan, could loft enough soot and smoke into the atmosphere to cause a nuclear autumn. This scenario, while not as catastrophic as a full-scale nuclear winter, would still be dire. A nuclear autumn, while less severe than a full-blown nuclear winter, would still have devastating consequences. The reduction in sunlight would affect photosynthesis, leading to widespread agricultural collapse. Global temperatures could drop by several degrees Celsius, leading to widespread crop failures and food shortages. The agricultural sector would be hit hardest, with many regions unable to produce enough food to sustain their populations. Hundreds of millions, if not billions, of people could face starvation. The humanitarian crisis that would follow such an event would be unprecedented in modern history. A full-scale nuclear war between superpowers such as the United States, Russia, or China would be an unimaginable catastrophe. The destruction would be on a scale never before seen, with entire cities obliterated in moments. The sheer number of nuclear weapons detonated in such a conflict would release an unprecedented amount of energy and particulate matter into the atmosphere. This would lead to a nuclear winter, plunging the world into darkness and cold, with long-lasting effects on the global climate and ecosystems. Section 6. A world transformed. In the aftermath of a nuclear war, the world would be a vastly different place. The combination of blast damage, radiation poisoning, and the long-term effects of nuclear winter would transform the planet into a hostile and unforgiving environment. The survivors of the initial blasts and the acute radiation sickness that followed would face a daily struggle for survival. Food and clean water would be scarce, and exposure to radiation would be a constant threat. The collapse of infrastructure and the loss of social order would make even the simplest tasks a daunting challenge. The long-term effects of nuclear winter would continue to plague the survivors for decades to come. The altered climate would make it difficult to grow crops, and the depletion of the ozone layer would expose survivors to harmful levels of ultraviolet radiation. Section 7. Can we survive? The question of whether or not humanity could survive a full-scale nuclear war is a sobering one. While some experts believe that pockets of survivors might manage to eke out an existence in the ruins of our civilization, the long-term prospects for rebuilding are bleak. The challenges of survival in a post-nuclear world would be immense. The loss of technology, the scarcity of resources, and the constant threat of radiation poisoning would make it difficult to sustain even a rudimentary level of civilization. Some regions of the world might be more hospitable to survivors than others. The southern hemisphere, which would be less directly affected by the initial nuclear detonations and the subsequent nuclear winter, might offer a slightly better chance of survival. Section 8. Preventing Armageddon. The horrors of nuclear war are not a foregone conclusion. The power to prevent this catastrophe lies within our grasp. The only way to ensure that nuclear weapons are never used again is to eliminate them entirely. The international community must work together to strengthen treaties aimed at reducing nuclear arsenals and preventing the proliferation of nuclear weapons technology. We must also invest in diplomacy, conflict resolution, and peace-building efforts to address the root causes of international tension and mistrust. Education is also crucial. We must teach future generations about the horrors of nuclear war and the importance of diplomacy and peaceful coexistence. By fostering a culture of peace, we can create a world where nuclear weapons are no longer seen as a viable option. Section 9, a call to action. The threat of nuclear war is a shared responsibility, and it demands a collective response. Each and every one of us has a role to play in preventing this catastrophe. We can support organizations working to reduce nuclear risks, advocate for policies that promote peace and disarmament, and educate ourselves and others about the dangers of nuclear weapons. We can also choose to live our lives in a way that promotes peace, understanding, and cooperation. The future of humanity hangs in the balance. The choice is ours to make. Let us choose wisely.